Hey folks, Pat here from DNS. This Madison area fishing report is current as of July 28th. Got just a couple things to cover here quick. The Badger Childhood Cancer Network is hosting their Fishing for Families Bass Classic on Lake Wisconsin, August 6th. It's out at Remy's Thirsty Moose up there. It's a cool event. They got a bunch of stuff going on all day, but it is a bass tournament. And so if you want to participate, you can go to badgerchildhoodcancer.org and learn more. Otherwise, they got side pots, they got prizes and raffles, barbecue going on. We're happy to donate some prizes to that group for their raffle because it's a cool group that's doing great work, and it's a fun event. So yeah, check it out August 6th if you're interested. Um, I posted about this last a couple days ago, I guess. Madison Parks announced that the Spring Harbor Boat launch is going to be closed for the next 6 weeks or so while they redo it. I looked on their website. It just looks like they're redoing what's there. But anyway, Spring Harbor is going to be closed. A little bit of fun news here. Friend of the shop, Rick Kruger, is going to be on the cover of Madison magazine. I guess this hits newsstands today. Looks like a cool article. Of course, Rick is well known around town. He's given presentations, posts a lot of information on sites like Lake Link and other places, and is a great resource for anglers and divers around town. I know he's really well respected in both communities. So anyway, it's cool to see Rick on the cover there, and looks like some cool photos. Can't wait to read that article. Um, Otherwise, I guess just a little bit of shop news. Right now, the topwater frog bite is hot. It will remain that way through the rest of the summer here. So we got a bunch of frogs out on an end cap here. So swing by and stock up because that bite's been really great. I'll mention that a few times in the report here. Also got some Tranks reels in. Muskie anglers love these, and they're hard to find. So stop in and grab one before they're gone. And also, just a reminder, with all this heat, it's important to keep your bait cool and lively. So DNS Bait Tackle Fly Shop bait coolers. They come with a frozen freeze pack here, and it's reusable. And yeah, you can fit your bait in there and keep it cool. I've been using a system like this for many, many years, so happy to have those here at the shop. I guess we can get on to the report. Yeah, it was a hot one this week. Temps in the 90s a lot of days, and we did get some rain though. It was going to be warm again today with a chance of rain, but the heat is supposed to break for the weekend with highs just in the low 80s. So both Saturday and Sunday. So um, looks like a beautiful weekend, and the upcoming week also looks great. Don't see many temps above 80s in the forecast. So yeah, should be some nice weather, a nice break from this heat we had this week because it sure was warm. The buoy out here on Lake Mendota read 77 degrees this morning, so temps are up a little bit from last week. They were actually at 80 degrees this time yesterday, so they actually came down a little bit overnight. We had some wind and rain come through, but either way, with this warm weather and rising water temps, you do want to make sure you're checking those temps, especially on the muskie side of things. They say don't fish for muskies if the temp's above 80 degrees. Trout, too, in the streams. Don't fish for trout if the water is above 67 degrees. So checking your temperatures is important. Um, Generally around the chain, it sounds like slimy weeds are still a problem in spots. Floating weeds are causing problems depending on where you are and which way the wind's blowing. But I do hear that water clarity remains good around the chain. That's reflected here on the Dane County Beach Water Quality page. Looks like all the beaches are open. I think that's a first for this summer so far. Otherwise, of course, bluegills are done spawning now and have moved out to deeper weed lines or are suspended over deeper water. I've been hearing about good numbers of perch on weed lines, but mostly small fish being caught. Redworms and spikes have been working well for all panfish. Largemouth bass remain shallow around the chain, and smallmouth bass and walleye are being picked up in good numbers on mid-lake humps, with crawlers and fathead minnows working well for those fish. Pike are plentiful, and the muskie bite still seems a little bit slow. Despite getting some rain the last couple of weeks, area rivers and streams are still running very low compared to seasonal averages. Up here on the north side, Cherokee Park is still a weedy mess, although I am hearing about occasional good topwater bite down there for bass. Otherwise, if you got a small boat or canoe or kayak and can launch here at School Road, you can get out in the channel and travel up and down. And there's been some nice bass and a lot of pike up there too being caught. On the 113 bridge, they are still getting some catfish down here, some nice ones. I see a few every week that I hear about, but otherwise, you never know really what you'll get in there. It could be a walleye, could be a sheep's head, could be some crappies. You never know. But up to, or as far as the rest of Lake Mendota goes, gills are out on weed lines for the most part. 15 feet of water is a good place to look, or wherever you can find a weed edge. They're also mixed in out there with, like I said, good numbers of perch, but it sounds like small ones seem to be the name of the game lately. I guess we'll see if the bigger ones push out to the weed lines here coming up in the next couple weeks. Otherwise, ice fishing jig or a small jig with like a cubby mini mite or a nail tail, all have been working well. Ice fishing jig with a spike, all those things are working well for the panfish. And also, you hear about the occasional smallmouth or walleye that gets picked up on those lures too. But otherwise, smallmouth and walleye are moved out to mid-lake humps and on weed edges out there. So I've been hearing about a lot of nice fish coming off the mid-lake humps in particular. A lot of pike around Mendota, and the bite down here at Tenney Park is a nice mixed bag down there out on the locks or out on the breakwall. Below the locks, they are catching fish again. It sounds like some fish have moved back in there. And at the Tenney Park Lagoon, some real nice largemouth bass in there, and topwater frog is super effective in there. Also, topwater frog largemouth bite has been good around in shallow areas of Lake Mendota and on Monona, all around the chain really. Smallmouth or largemouth bass and frogs go together like peas and carrots. Anyway, down on Lake Monona, the bluegills are I still hear about some fish being picked up on weed lines down here, but a lot of the fish I hear about anyway are out over the deep water now, 15 feet down. Is where they're most comfortable, and some good numbers of fish just drifting out there over the deep water. On Monona Bay, I've been hearing about some decent panfish, pike, bass, good mixed bag in there. And the weed cutters were in there a little bit ago. Also, I forgot to mention the weed cutters were in Warner Bay up here too earlier this week, so that'll make some better casting over there. Otherwise, down on the Monona Terrace wall, it sounds like the bite might have slowed down there a little bit, but they are still getting some gills during the day and some crappies in the evenings. Lake Winger's full of small gills, good bass, and some decent muskie over there, per usual. Otherwise, I don't hear much else in the way of muskies out of Lake Monona. I have seen a couple reports online, so I know folks are getting some fish. I just haven't heard any reports here at the shop specifically. Up on Upper Mud, still pretty weed choked up here. Of course, you can get through here in the channel, but in the weeds over here, I have been seeing some nice largemouth coming out of there. Also down in Wabisa, a really nice largemouth, good largemouth bite going on down there. Topwater frogs, again, being a super fun way to fish and very effective. Otherwise, around Lake Wabisa, kind of the same deal as Lake Monona. Weeds can be a problem here and there, but otherwise, bluegills are being found on weed lines and suspended a little bit out over the deeper water. Heard about some walleyes from Babcock down to Bible Camp down here, and some decent bluegill action down here closer to the south end of the lake. But again, look for that 15 feet of water this time of year, and weed lines are a great place to start. Otherwise, down on Kegonsa, I'm hearing still about some bluegills being picked up on weed lines, but I also hear about gills out over like 30 feet of water, 15 feet down or so. Same deal as all the lakes. They're just suspended out there in the thermocline where they're comfortable. I do still hear about occasional walleyes and some actually pretty nice ones from trolling folks out here a lot around Lake Kegonsa State Park, but otherwise that action's pretty spotty. Lake Koshkonong, decent walleye bite out here, trolling crawler harnesses, flicker shads. I don't hear all that much specifically, but that's pretty much the name of the game out here this time of year, and generally up here on the end where the river dumps in. Otherwise, on the Rock River from Indian Ford up to Jefferson at both those dams, hearing about a nice mixed bag of fish and a couple catfish here and there, flatheads moving in, so that's always kind of cool to see. Otherwise, a nice mixed bag at all those dams. Beaver Dam Lake has a good eater catfish bite still going on over there, from what I hear. Then there's Crystal Lake. Oh, there it is. Crystal Lake has a good yellow bass bite going on with some crappies in the evening. Devil's Lake State Park has fish, trout in 30 feet of water, from what I hear. Over on the river is very, very low right now. I was over there Sunday evening fishing a little bit. I was really surprised how low it is. It's kind of shocking how easy it is to walk around. Wading is pleasant many places. Of course, always use caution. But for the most part, with this low water, that concentrates fish in deeper pockets. So you're looking on the backside of sandbars and corners where you get some current scour things out there a little bit. But that's going to be like that up and down the river. And there's a good smallmouth bite, topwater frogs, and subsurface. They're just busting minnows on the top or looking for frogs or anything to eat, really. The actions for smallmouth on the river has been pretty great lately. Otherwise, Prairie du Sac Dam, same deal as all the dams. Mixed bag up there. Never really know what you'll find. Lake Wisconsin, I haven't heard a ton out of there lately. I guess some action trolling crawler harnesses and a decent crappie bite near Wood. Otherwise, I think that's all I've really heard out of there. Same deal, portage up to the Dells, some great smallmouth water in here, and those fish are concentrated in deeper areas, so easier to find. Haven't heard much out of the Dells Dam. Same thing at Castle Rock and Petenwell dams, nice mixed bag there. Trolling for white bass and has been effective for white bass and walleyes on Castle Rock Lake, and it sounds like getting some pretty decent walleye action on Petenwell trolling along the channel breaks there. But also I heard about some fish up shallow, actually, now that I think about it. So yeah, some good action up there, although the water sounds like it's pretty green. But that's kind of per usual for that body of water. But still getting fish. Over the Mississippi River, water also over there is also very low. But I am hearing about some bluegills along weed lines, walleye, and some smallmouth at wing dams. But they could use some water over there too. It's just it's been real low. Over to Milwaukee, same story. Just a lot of low water in the tributaries, Milwaukee River. Some good smallmouth action. It's cool to watch that fishery rebound. It's been great to see. It's quite a smallmouth fishery in that river. But again, the low water concentrates all the fish into small areas, so they're easy to find. On these hot days, you're going to find your best action early in the morning and in the evening hours.
How are we doing this morning?
All right, and we're back. So on the over to Milwaukee, the fish are concentrated in deeper holes over there because of the low water, but some good smallmouth action coming out of there. Otherwise, I don't hear much else going on out on the big lake. They're just trolling out there, catching some nice fish here and there. Otherwise, around Madison, trout fishing's been too warm to fish for trout this last week, but it's supposed to cool off this week. But do make sure you're watching your water temps. If they hit that 67-degree mark, trout can get stressed and die when being caught. So keep an eye on those temps. Otherwise, local streams are running clear and a little low. Weeds on the banks are getting to be a problem. But if it's not too hot, you'll find mayflies coming off this time of year early in the morning or evening. We're full on into terrestrial season, so beetles, crickets, hoppers are going to be your best bet for finding fish if a bug hatch isn't coming off. Of course, woolly buggers, nymphs can be effective anytime fish aren't looking up. And on the spinning gear side of things, panther martins, tube jigs, and rapalas are fantastic. And live bait, a red worm under a bobber is hard to beat. I got to go grab this phone, but thanks for tuning in. Share your comments and catches below. Call the shop, 241-4225, if you got any questions. And yeah, we'll talk to you next week. Thanks so much.